All right, good people at YouTube. It is another successful evening. We are really close to finishing this F800 flatbed. And we'll just kind of go over things for a little bit here. The only thing welding-wise I have left to do, swing you around this way, is I put a backing in here. How I always do it is when I'm building the head rack, I always bring it up to the bottom of the rear window, and then the lights sit over the window. This being an F800, generally most windows sit, it'd be 16 inches from here. These are actually 22 inches, and actually the window sits like 23 and a quarter. It just looked really, really long, so I did shorten it just a little bit. Just, on one hand, you have function. On the other hand, you have presentation. And the big thing with those is you want to just get them up over the cab. I like to get them up over the cab about an inch. I don't like them when they're sitting super high. I figured if I make them up over the cab about an inch, Chevys, Ford, and Dodges, most years, they can all be the same size. So some of them, they'll sit like half an inch over the cab. Some of them will sit a little over an inch over the cab. And some of them will sit just right an inch over the cab. So what that means is if I wanted to, or when we have an employee who's working, doing whatever, to maybe fill some slow spots, it only cost me like a couple $100 to build one of those racks, the headache rack. So they could build them stock, and we could finish them and then move them out back. And then that's about 4 hours worth of work on a flatbed that we don't have to do. Same thing with building the wiring harnesses for the flatbed. Right now I just do them per order. In the future, I kind of think, again, it's an easy way to fill some time for an employee or something if it's needed to be that, so they could build wiring harnesses. How I build my wiring harnesses, I do have a plan drawn up for them or wrote out for them, and I build them to fit 8-foot dually beds. So if you get a short bed, it's a little long, I just coil it and zip tie it and hide it. But it's just easier that way. Same thing, I don't buy these. We have a plasma table and a brake, so we build these stake pockets. That's another thing we could build and sell for an employee to do. And it might not really make us much money. We might only make like $1 a piece on them or something, but if it keeps them busy and pays their wages, I'm good with that. And maybe get a little something to wear out in equipment. And I think I've seen those. They're like $5 or $6 a piece, or maybe for a pack of 2. I can't really remember. I know if you like break it down, raw material costs, I think the square footage wise, of the raw materials, I think it's like 75 cents sticks in my mind. But yeah, that's all stuff that like we've been thinking for the website, that could sell and we could package and ship and blah, 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 blah. But anyways, about this Ford 800, changed this back to, I used to recess this panel. I don't think I'm going to do it anymore on any bed. This just looks way cleaner. The reason I started recessing this panel was I used it as a step. And the step really didn't work great. So then my next thought was, okay, instead of recessing that panel and using it as a step, it is nice to have it recessed because it helps protect lights and your license plate and all that. But honestly, the more I got to looking at the last ones, this just looks so much cleaner. I think we're just going to go with that from now on. And it's something that if I even like got some new equipment, like a new plasma table or something someday, I could cut that whole piece out and then bend it on our brake, and it would save a bunch of time fitting it up and doing all that stuff. So that's something that I think's just gonna be stock on all of our beds now, is the one solid piece rear panel. Another thing I have been getting some requests for, because I list them for custom. So how we're gonna do it, we're gonna come up and advertise our like our standard ones, the ones that we could just sit and build and put out back for people to buy when they're in a pinch. And then we're gonna offer custom ones. And the one thing I've been getting a lot of requests for on the custom aspect is, instead of having the two bars in between the lights, a mesh with a logo, an American flag, an eagle, anything like that. So that's another thing that we're kind of just working with, like, pricing out right now, but that's another thing that should be coming too. On this, because this is going to be one solid piece now, generally I think it's 37 inches wide, unless it's a dually, then it jumps to 42 inches wide, I think is what this is. Somewhere down in here, we're going to put the check mark for our logo. In fact, we could almost vote on it. Should it be like in the center? Should it be on the driver passenger side? Should it be up? Like, I think Cadet Beds actually put it up, plasma cut into that back panel. So yeah, just something to think about, something I've been toying with. The other thing I get, and I want your guys's opinion and what you guys have done in the past. The rub rails. Our rub rail's a tie down spot. My dad was a truck driver. My brother was a truck driver. My great grandfather was a truck driver. Grandpas were, hobby farmers, all that stuff. I was always told never to tie down or tie off on your rub rails. Only ever tie off on your stake pockets. Your stake pockets are welded directly to. Now, if it's not a super big load, it probably doesn't matter. But I know, like, I don't know. If you start reefing on the rub rails, they can kind of get pulled in. But the stake pockets are welded to the bed itself. So I was always told tie downs in the stake pockets, and then your rub rails are only thing they're meant for is if a high-low's loading you and they bump into it, they can destroy that rub rail. And then someone like myself just has to either come out, or you bring it to someone like me and they cut off the old rail and put in the new, and it protects your bed. So I get a lot of people who, because I don't weld the bottom of them. The reason I don't weld the bottom of them is because then when I have to go and cut them off, it's just, the bottom's really annoying to cut off. I just do the top, because then I can just wash the weld out the top. And I go down on the sides. I run it up and then run it back down on the ends, I guess, not the sides. But, so yeah, I do that, but I don't weld the bottoms. And I'll get people to ask why I don't weld the bottoms, and that's why, is because they're just meant to be bumped into. They're not meant to be tied off to. You could tie off to them. I mean, it's not really going to go anywhere. On my dually beds, I always bring this, so the first cross member, length of your cab, and then I always wait until the second cross member to bring it out. This one, especially being a single cab, when you get out, you're not busting your hip. But I'll give you guys a little walk around. These I fully enclose. These are the back of your lights, and they come with a weep hole. You can kind of see it right there. You can see it, maybe, yeah. And then there's also a weep hole at the bottom of here and on that side, so water can flow. If water gets in any tube, it can flow down this tube. I don't put a weep hole in here. I could, but I don't. But I put a weep hole on either side of that, so water could flow down and get in, and water can escape. But yeah, this sucks. The material got delivered in the rain, and I didn't happen to be here, so they just tossed it in the yard. So it's going to be a lot of wire wheeling and maybe even some blasting to get that off. But It is what it is. Kind of the good thing is, I don't know if it's a good thing or not. Um, these were faced down, so I didn't have to do it all before I welded. The underside's pretty clean. It's really just this one, because this one was sitting on the bottom. As you can see, this one's, it's got dust on it, but it's pretty clean. But yeah, that one will be a lot of wire wheeling. If anyone's wondering, saying, man, your wheel well looks pretty far back, the Ford 800, that's where it sits. He cut down the frame. It's a really sweet truck, I think. But yeah, he cut down the frame on it, so that's where it goes. I almost wish we would have put him some kind of toolbox or storage box up front. I don't know. I know he has a big hitch on the back of it. I don't really know what all of his plans are for this thing. But as far as like what he's going to do with it, I think, if I remember right, it's just kind of to haul around maybe some personal tools and maybe some equipment to jobs. But I don't know. I always push the guys, man, just get the storage boxes, because it's like, for me, just having a place to like throw your straps, like it's even nice. Like I know guys who they have one that a cooler fits in there and they can just leave a cooler in there. Especially on single cab trucks where there's not a lot of storage in the frame, just to have something that you can, shove a lunchbox in, your cooler, your straps, a roadside kit, whatever you wanted to do, and just have it and have it not be in the cab. Personally, I don't like things just rolling around in the cab with me. Especially now that we have a son, I actually try to keep the cab really, really clean. I remember a story my dad told me about when he was about 18 or 19. He was working some overtime. He was a mechanic at a used car lot, I think, is how the story went. And the head guy there built dune rails or something for up on the sand dunes. And my dad was helping him, and they got one done, and they just wanted to take it for a test drive. And the guy was a big guy. He was like 6'2", 300 pounds, and my dad was 6'1", 6'2", but he was only like 170, 180 pounds. He wasn't very, very big back then. And anyways, my dad was buckled into the harness, but the guy didn't put his harness on, and they ended up rolling it like multiple times. Even though my dad did what he was supposed to do, had his safety harness on, that guy didn't. That guy just pummeled my dad because he was just banging around in there like a ball in a can you're shaking. He was just going all over and just beat the tar out of my dad. So I think about that when I'm driving my son around in the truck. Not that he's in there often. I always think, like, if something were to happen and we started rolling, even though he's, his passenger side airbag's off, the car seat is strapped in tight, all that stuff that's supposed to be, anything that's loose in the truck, it's going to go rolling around, and it could hit and hurt him, hurt me, all that stuff. So these days, I'm trying to keep it extra clean. Maybe I'm overly cautious, I don't know, but I just think the older I get, the more I find that the safety, it's important. But yeah, anyways, that's, as always, we get sidetracked on stories, but here is the Ford 800 build. This is I'm calling it day 2. It's actually day 3. Hour-wise, I think I'm only into this one 16 hours. That's not a lot of time. The day 1, and that's counting taking all the measurements off it. Especially with all these ones that are custom, you got to find the wheel spacing, distance between cab and wheels, and all that kind of stuff. It does take, you got to fill like a page of notes out. So, and then, figuring out like the headache rack and everything. So build time I'm into this one, about 16 hours. That doesn't count, like unloading steel. That's from like first cut to where I'm at now. tomorrow I probably have 2 hours into finishing the welding and getting all this surface rust wire wheeled out and it blown off and wiped down. And then the goal tomorrow night will be to get it in primer. And I don't know exactly how tomorrow's going to go. I might be able to get out here in the morning and primer it and then come out late that evening and put the finish coat on. Well, that wouldn't be the finish coat, the first coat, and then the finish coat. And then it's just lights, and then it's install. He still has to run a rear wiring harness, so we don't have to hook that up. There's no fuel fill nozzle, so that's all good. It will literally just be bolting it on. And for the most part, it's pretty open under there. Something about, I call them cabin chassis, this semi, it's, you know, straight frame. They're just so much easier. I don't know exactly what it is about it. They are a lot easier. But yeah, I think, so by Friday I should have this one pretty much finished up. I know I need to go down Friday and get a sheet of 1/2-inch plate for another job. So I'll probably do that too. If I can have the painting maybe tomorrow before I do the first coat when it's in primer, I'll get the wiring harness built. I won't put it in, but it will be built so that way when the painting's done, I can plug in the harness real quick, just put all the grommets and the lights in and hook them up, and then just leave his wiring harnessing, his connections dangling. And then I will just take a lot away from Friday, because I know I'm not going to have time tomorrow being Thursday. I almost messed up. I almost took the night off because I thought it was Tuesday, and I thought I was like 2 days away from being done with this job. But glad I didn't do that. Push comes to shove, probably wouldn't have done that anyways, because I'd rather be a day ahead and start on another job than not. And this will be the final thing, another thing you can get on these beds if you request is a gusset coming from here to here. As you can see, the headache rack, it shakes the whole bed. It doesn't just shake the headache rack, and it actually gets even a little stronger with the backing plate, even though it is only 1/8-inch plate that I put back there. It just helps, and I stitch welded in. It just helps hold everything in place. So, yeah, and especially when I weld these ones out, because then because then it ties into this 3/16 plate, which is welded to this cross member. It really ties this in good. But yeah, anyways, guys, we are almost at 2,400 subscribers, I think. I think we got like maybe 30 more to go, so we're pushing. I know the content's that, you know, kind of just updates. We're pushing for more and more videos. But, you know, father of a 1-year-old, wife works, and we've got so many irons in the fire right now. It's hard to sit down and actually do a edited full-length video. So you're kind of just getting stuck with these updates. So just continue. I appreciate all the support on the channel, and I just ask you continue to share it, like it, subscribe to it, and comment. Let me know what you guys like, what you don't like. I'm hoping we can do an edited video on the Ford 861. I believe it's an 861. When we rebuild that motor. I don't know. It might just be a time lapse. I don't know. I still have to talk to the father-in-law on how he wants to do that. But other than that, guys, we will see you on the next video. Cheers.